So when you think about high-performance brakes, you're probably picturing these massive calipers, right? Huge, drilled rotors. But what if I told you the biggest innovation in braking wasn't about stopping on a dime, but about lasting for a decade? Well, today we're going to dive into General Motors' secret weapon for brakes, a patented technology that's all about durability over raw stopping power.
Now, this might look like any old brake rotor you'd see on any car, but it's actually hiding some really cool and really fascinating material science. See, GM's big idea here isn't about making it bigger or giving it more brute force. Nope, it's a chemical treatment, almost like an invisible shield that totally changes how this part performs and, more importantly, how it survives over its lifetime.
Okay, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll get into this whole different philosophy of braking. Then, we'll dig into the actual science that makes these things so tough and, what that means for you out on the road. After that, we'll put GM's tech head-to-head with some classic performance brakes, all to help you figure out which way to go for your own car.
So let's talk about this different way of thinking. While all the flashy aftermarket performance brakes get the glory for being track day heroes, GM's engineers were kind of quietly focused on a totally different problem. It's a problem that affects pretty much every single driver. The slow, steady damage from corrosion and just plain old wear and tear over thousands and thousands of miles. So how exactly did they pull this off? Let's get into the science of it, because it's actually pretty cool. We're going to explore the specific process that makes these rotors so incredibly resilient. Okay, so the fancy official name for this patented process is ferritic nitrocarburizing. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. Think of it like a super hot bath where the cast iron rotor gets infused with nitrogen. Now, this isn't just a coating that can chip off, it literally chemically changes the surface, creating this incredibly hard and durable outer layer.
You can really boil it down to three basic steps. You take a totally standard rotor, use this high-temperature process to jam nitrogen atoms into its surface, and what you get is a new, hardened molecular structure on the outside. It basically acts like a permanent shield against all the nasty stuff on the road. And here's something you really need to get. This is not some generic treatment you can just buy off the shelf. No way. This is a patented process, developed and perfected completely in-house by GM engineers, specifically for their own factory-installed rotors. So that's the science, but what does all this high-tech chemistry actually mean for you, when you're behind the wheel every single day? Let's connect the dots from the lab straight to your driveway.
So yeah, what is really in it for you? I mean, why go through all this trouble for a simple brake rotor? Well, the answers are actually super practical.
The number one benefit here is a much, much longer rotor life, and that's all thanks to its incredible corrosion resistance. This is an absolute game changer if you live anywhere with wet weather or, those salty winter roads. And because the rotor fights off that uneven rust that can cause problems, you get a smoother, more consistent pedal feel over time. So you can say goodbye to that annoying brake judder. And hey, as a nice little bonus, that same corrosion resistance usually means less ugly brake dust caked on your wheels and just a lower cost of ownership in the long run. All right, this brings us to the big question. How does this durability-focused tech really stack up against a name that's all about pure performance, a name like Brembo? Well, it's really a tale of two completely different philosophies.
See, on one side, you've got GM's technology, which is all about longevity, reliability, and just solid, consistent performance for the daily grind. But on the other side, you've got Brembo, which is laser-focused on one thing: maximum stopping power and fighting off heat fade during really extreme high-speed driving.
The best way to think about it is like a marathon runner versus a sprinter. GM's rotor is that marathon runner. It's engineered purely for endurance. A Brembo system, that's the sprinter, built for that explosive peak power right when you absolutely need it. Neither one is better. They're just designed for totally different races.
In this chart, it really spells it all out perfectly. GM's goal is durability, right? So it's ideal for daily driving, towing, all that stuff, and they get there with that surface hardening treatment. Brembo's goal, on the other hand, is just pure, raw stopping power for the track. Their use of those huge rotors and multi-piston calipers isn't just for more clamping force. It's about managing and getting rid of the insane amount of heat from braking hard over and over again.
Okay, so with these two totally different philosophies in mind, how in the world do you know which one is right for you and the way you drive? Let's wrap this up and help you make that call. Look, it really boils down to this. If you're a daily commuter or maybe someone who tows a trailer, GM's durable, low-maintenance tech is, hands down, the smart choice. But if you're a track enthusiast out there chasing faster lap times or carving up canyon roads on the weekend, then yeah, upgrading to a full-on performance system like Brembo's makes a ton of sense.
So, in the end, it just proves that brake technology is definitely not one size fits all. GM's focus on material science really shows that innovation can be about endurance just as much as it is about pure power. And that leaves us with a pretty simple question to think about. What's the right choice for the road you travel?